Hello, lovely humans. I have been contemplating making this for almost 2 years now, and I've put it off for various reasons. But I realize that the beauty of humanity is sometimes we just have to humble ourselves and ask for help. And 9 times out of 10, we are happy to help others, but it is so much more difficult to receive help. And I realized I essentially am stuck in a cycle that I can't get out of without the help of others. So some of you guys know about this journey that I've been on. Some of you don't. I disappeared from social media back in 2019 and then was planning on getting back on. And instead, the last couple years have been just been going through it. And very, very long story short, I had a UTI back in March of 2024 and went to an urgent care, got a gentle antibiotic, went through 5 days. It did not cure my symptoms. And this was one of those, if you've had one and you know, it was one of those raging ones where it feels like you are peeing out fire. Really good stuff. And so I went back and just said, hey, symptoms are still happening, thinking I'm just going to probably get a round 2 of the same one. And instead, I was given an antibiotic called Cipro, which is a fluoridated medication. And before being given this, I didn't even know what that meant. But essentially, when I was given this antibiotic, the only side effect I was warned about was that in elderly patients, there is sometimes tendon pain. And if that happens, please stop taking it. But again, really rare, and it's really only with elderly patients. So I was thinking, no big deal, probably fine. I don't consider myself elderly, so we're probably good. And started taking it. That was March 9th. And by March 12th, I was covered head to toe in really hot, itchy hives. Obviously, took that as a sign that I'm allergic and stopped taking it. And I've had a similar reaction to penicillin and amoxicillin. And so I just thought, okay, add it to the list of allergies. The longer I go without having this in my system, the healthier I'll be. It'll eventually go away. And to my shock and surprise, the opposite happened. So I just started having worse and worse and weirder and more severe symptoms as the days went on. Extreme fatigue, brain fog, difficulty processing information, starting to have really sharp pains throughout my body, tremors, heart palpitations. Like today, I'm quite winded. It's actually hard to breathe today. And so anyways, these things kept progressing. And really the things that got much more difficult is I started to randomly pass out with no rhyme or reason, no warning. No matter how much sleep I got, if I had electrolytes, water, protein, like even if all of that was balanced, there seemed to be, it could be as simple as going from sitting down to standing up, or I could be walking and all of a sudden lose all of my energy and feel like I'm going to pass out. Walking up 3 stairs. It really didn't have, there was no consistency to figuring out what was going on. And I just figured, like most things, like you just need to push through. I just need to push through. And if I push through, eventually it's going to even out. My body's going to flush this from my system and I'll be fine. And to make a very long story short, that's not what happened. And I have a little bit more about this in a post that I wrote. So if you want to know all of those details, I will link it below. I know not everybody needs all the details and I'm a bit long-winded, but I essentially almost passed out while driving in an area that there was no place to pull over. And so for me, that really was a huge wake-up call of no matter how hard I want to push through this and no matter how strong of a will I have, I'm not in control. I'm not in control of my own body and my system right now. And so I started doing research and I had already put 2 and 2 together. Like I wasn't dealing with any of this before taking this antibiotic. And so I looked up and found out that there's literally something called Cipro toxicity, or some people call it getting floxed because there's other fluoridated medications that people have had similar reactions to. And so I ended up doing research and finding 2 clinics that specialized in toxicity. After doing research, and finding a doctor in LA who actually changed his practice to working specifically with people who have been through this experience, because he actually went through himself. And there's a link to his information in that post as well, just because he obviously knows the medical terms and is much better at explaining what happens. But essentially, the antibiotic goes into your system, and if you have a genetic mutation, like I found out I have, or if you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which we're starting to figure out I might have as well, and just some other sensitivities, like just in general, if you have autoimmune sensitivities, or if you have chronic autoimmune issues, which I've dealt with in the past, that a lot of times people's bodies don't react very well to this medication or any fluoridated medication. And to make a very medical explanation in very layman's terms, which is what I need, it started attacking my body at a cellular level. And so it actually goes into your spine and then out into your nervous system, and starts attacking your brain function, starts attacking your nervous system, which is where the nerve pain comes into play. A lot of people have heart palpitations, which I had, and it literally starts attacking your muscular system. So for some people, that tendon pain is like literally separating your tendon from your bone. Like it starts tearing essentially and disintegrating. For me, my tendons have actually shrunk. And then on my right leg, my calf is actually like pulling the opposite direction that it's supposed to, like the fascia is moving in the opposite direction. So there's a handful of things that symptom-wise I could get into. I do have more in that post, just because I'm trying my best not to be super long-winded. But all this being said, there was another clinic in Idaho that was more affordable for more treatment than the one in LA, and we have family there. And so I ended up staying with family and doing 5 weeks of treatment, 6 days a week, basically for 5 weeks, to get from it being very difficult to walk and speak and talk and think, to being back to like 70% function, about where I teeter between now. And that was a miracle in and of itself. And at the time we thought, okay, we got to this point. Now I'm good. Now it's just from here forward, only going to be getting better. What I didn't realize is that that's actually because I was consistently getting those treatments. Those were what was keeping the symptoms at bay. And unfortunately, the longer I go without getting treatment, the rougher my body feels. And so we've been stuck in this pendulum swing for the last almost 2 years. And it's been really frustrating also because I work very hard. My husband works very hard. Our family and friends have given financial resources, which has been so amazing. And we've put a lot on cards, because most of the treatments all of the treatments that help my body are not like pharmaceuticals. I basically am allergic to most pharmaceuticals. And so the only way that I could get these treatments to help keep some of these symptoms at bay are all considered naturopathic. And those are not covered by insurance. And so they're cash pay forward. So you have to pay for it before you get the treatment. And then you can get a super bill and try to send it into insurance. And insurance helped a tiny bit in 2024, but they were not able to help in 2025. And so essentially the cycle that I am stuck in, that I really am humbly asking for help with, is we will work really hard and I will take a break from getting treatment so that we can make progress on the medical debt and get back to the goals that we had. We had been saving up and we're doing really good. Our goal was to get a little house, something humble for our family that we could grow in, and this tanked all that and some. And then as we make financial progress, I don't get treatments because they're expensive. And then my symptoms start flaring up enough that then we have to get a treatment and then extend ourselves and work to pay it off. And so it's been very difficult to make progress. We're now blessed to be in a situation where my husband has picked up a second job and he's working 7 days a week. And my work has been absolute godsend to work with me throughout this season and just allow me to make treatments and make up the hours around my treatments. And I am eternally, eternally grateful for that. However, obviously, especially with my health, I can only work so much. So full-time to 50 hours is about how much I can swing. I cannot pick up a second job. And obviously we have our daughter, who we've been doing our best to shield from the stress as best as possible. And our friends and family have been God sent in helping with that as well. All that being said, unfortunately with these treatments being quite the investment in some of the specialized labs that I would like to get enough information to do some treatments that would be less preventative and more long-term healing, it is more upfront. And so where we've been at basically since like April, May of 2024 is doing little treatments that we can afford as we can afford them to essentially band-aid the symptoms, but not get to a place of long-term healing. And so what I'm humbly asking is if you could even share this story so that more people can see it, I would be honored. If you can give literally 50 cents or $1, every little bit adds up. If 20,000 people saw this video shared across all different kinds of social media and 20,000 people gave $1, it would literally change my life. And so if I can be totally honest, I'm really tired and I'm really humbled and grateful for having the health that I do have, for being able to walk, for being able to think enough to make this video. There were days where that wouldn't have been possible. And there were days where I could barely speak. I wasn't making sense. I couldn't make sense. I didn't know what was happening upstairs. And thoughts were very dark, and I couldn't walk longer than down a hallway without sitting down because it was so painful in my tendons and I had such little energy that I thought I was going to pass out. So the duality of the situation is I'm extraordinarily blessed and grateful to have come this far. And at the same time, I'm also so exhausted from fighting so hard for the health that I do have. For example, today I look totally fine. However, I am in excruciating pain today. My nervous system is clearly very flared up. I can't quite figure out why. My neck, I can turn this far today, and that is as far as I can go without shooting pain all the way down through my elbow and my hand. And I have a weird shooting pain through my left leg today. And I've had tremors all day and it's really hard to breathe. And these are things that just flare up at different times for different reasons that I'm not quite sure of. And so if I was able to get this treatment, there's a handful of things that I would like to get tested. There are some injections that I would like to get in my tendons. There are some nervous system specialists that I would like to see. And there's quite a few doctors who have recommended spine cell treatment, where you actually go into the spine and do cell treatments there that really reset the whole system. And that is one of the only things that I haven't been able to try yet because it is very expensive. So all that being said, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I'm humbled that you're here. I will add some pictures in throughout the post of different treatments that have helped, such as hyperbaric, red light, the IV therapy, frequency-specific microcurrent treatment, and some of those things that have really helped me get to this place. I'm also going to link below if you know anyone who's been going through this, or if you yourself have actually taken an antibiotic and have felt really groggy or had some weird symptoms that you never had before, you might actually have part of this. And I'm happy to link some things that have helped. If I can help one singular person know about this and either not take it, or if you have taken it, find some semblance of healing and coming back to a better health, then this whole video will also be worth it. So I will link some information there, and then whether you're in a place to give or you feel comfortable sharing or you don't, I am going to share more about my ongoing process of healing on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, because I do really think there's so much more of this going on in the world and so many people who don't know where to look for resources. And when I was on the internet as this was happening and I searched Cipro toxicity, there was really just a lot of doom, and it is really scary, especially when you're in the heat of it and you feel like a vegetable and you don't know if you're going to get better. So I hope I can be an ounce of hope for someone, that you can get to a place where, yes, it's still really hard, and a lot of times you do have to carry a lot of silent pain, but a lot of gratitude, and that it does get better, and it's still hard, but it gets a lot better. So I just want someone out there to know a little bit more, and I wish I would have had some of those resources to look to when I was going through it. So I will continue to share about this as I'm coming back on to sharing in the online world, and of course about regular life stuff too. But this has really been a huge part of my life for almost 2 years, and so it would mean the world to me if you have encouraging words, if you can share a buck, if you can share the post. And also, if anyone out there knows of a medical malpractice lawyer that would like to take on my case. Over the last 2 years, I've probably called almost 100. I've had multiple tell me that I have a case, but that they don't have space to take it on. So if this reaches anybody out there that has a resource for that, I believe in March of this year, that's the last I can file anything. And I have run out of the time and energy to continue searching. So thank you for your time. I love you, mean it. Thanks.